Hey everyone, welcome to another video. I hope everyone had a good week of training. Before I start talking about the week of workouts, I just got a flyer in the mail about a new gym that's opening up in the city where I live in Coleraine. Or I guess I don't know. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio, and I guess the suburbs, Coleraine. But there's a place that's opening. I'm going to guess it's going to be pretty close if it's on the street about 2 minutes from where I live. But I haven't looked at the specifics, and I know the place isn't open yet. But the only reason I'm bringing them up is that they may potentially have some nice weightlifting equipment and be closer and cost just a little bit more than the gym I'm at now. Instead of 25, it'd be 30, which is hardly any difference at all. Currently asking them what kind of bumpers, what kind of bars, and or if they would have jerk blocks. If they have similar equipment than World Gym with jerk blocks, then I'd probably make the switch almost immediately to there, assuming that the place actually opened up. I know they're waiting for equipment, at least according to their Facebook page. The last post they had was talking about that. But just asking about it, so that could be something that if you see me change locations, it's to move to a place that's closer to where I live and may have weightlifting equipment, which would be extremely ideal. Now, whether they do or not, I'm not going to hold my breath with that, since it seems I looked at other locations that it's called Next Level Fitness. They have several locations apparently, and a couple of the other ones have weightlifting equipment, but I haven't seen jerk blocks in any of the videos. But also, you just don't see too many people doing weightlifting, so it's harder to find that stuff. Did see some of the equipment that would lead me to think that I would be able to do so. And the representative that I contacted said that they would have bumpers and equipment for that. Now, whether they have nice ones or not, that's a big question. I of course could probably bring my bar wherever I go, but it's questionable if I'm able to leave it there and secure it to something. But anywho, onto this week of training. So it was the week 1 of the program. As I mentioned before, I changed the progression of the program to be 4 days a week instead of the 6 days a week. So the other 3 days of the week, I still am training. I did the other 2 workouts, and I'll do a lighter one tomorrow, where I focus on other things that I need to work on and just kind of supplement that. And with these 3 days after the first week of programming, I went lighter with overhead stuff. In fact, I haven't done any and don't really plan on doing any to give my left shoulder particularly, a little bit of time to rest to let it heal up. It's if I had to lift heavy, obviously my shoulder was feeling the same as it did when I snatched the 242, so it's not an injury per se. There wasn't a lift where I felt it do anything. I think it's just general overuse, and just having a couple days off from it or taxing it will hopefully help that, because I haven't really taken a day off from doing some sort of overhead movement for a while. I don't remember the last time, been a couple months. So having that be lighter is certainly helpful. But the first extra day, you'll see a lot of lifts that I did during the week, obviously, with the programming, and a lot of it is lighter, pretty straightforward stuff, nothing that was too radical with that. But the big differences of my programming is obviously the extra days that I'm programming myself. I'm trying to have a minimalistic focus on those days where I'm trying not to do 1,000 different things. I'm trying to focus in on a couple things. So on the first 5th day, I suppose, of the week, I did a heavy front squat where I worked up to 360, which is a pretty high percentage of my best front squat of 375. I then did some deadlifts with the Ohio Power Bar. So it was the first time I've pulled on a stiff bar in quite a while with somewhat significant weight. It was about 70% of my current estimated max. I just put a 405 for my purposes. I just did a 3x5 with that. It was pretty easy. I plan on doing that. Deadlifts like that once a week. I pull plenty with the program with clean pulls and snatch pulls still, so I'm pulling 5 days a week, which I think is more than sufficient for my pulling. I'm trying to do some sort of squatting every day. Yesterday, like I mentioned, I did the heavy front squat. Today I did 30 total reps of back squats with 285 to do some hypertrophy. The first set I did 10, the second I did 15, the last one I did 5, as well as doing some leg press hypertrophy work for my quads particularly, where I would do 8 reps with a single leg, both legs, and then do 8 with mine, both legs. And then I did a top set where I did a burnout with both legs. So, just trying to add that in. And ideally on these days I would add more shoulder work in. But like I said, I'm trying to be lighter with that. The mechanics and the form of my lifts feel really good during with all the lifts that I have. And it's really just because they're light right now. Despite my shoulder, it hasn't got any worse, which is a big positive. Despite doing snatches and jerks and everything still, it hasn't particularly improved. Although I will say It has improved a little bit from the beginning of the week, and it has felt better. It always feels better at the end of my workout, so I definitely think it could just be some sort of tightness in there. But it definitely hasn't, it isn't perfect. So it isn't anything that's limiting me. It's just something I want to be cautious about so it doesn't boil over into something that prevents me from actually doing the lifts. So I think the 4 days a week is sufficient right now for the overhead stuff. And then if on the extra days, if the shoulder calms down, then I'll be able to add that stuff in, stuff like snatch balances and overhead press and stuff that will be really beneficial. On the 4th day, a lot of the stuff, like some of the extra stuff, I just didn't feel like recording. Like today, you won't see any of the leg press or the single leg stuff or the plyometrics that I did, but I'm trying to add some of that stuff in. It's just kind of annoying to record it because it's just so many clips, and it's kind of, they're very long clips if I'm doing, a plyometric set, or if I'm doing a set of 30 on the leg press. I don't want to bring it over to the bodybuilding area and set it up there and record something that it's just not that interesting to watch me do a leg press or something like that. If there is, for some reason, some interest to see that sort of stuff, let me know, and I could always try to sneak in to record something like that, but otherwise I'm not really going to worry about it. I did a couple extra box jumps today, just trying to add that stuff in to supplement what the program is giving me, which is a lot of practice with the lifts, to work on the things that I'm weak at with my quads and explosiveness and things like that. And box jumps are it's kind of scary for me because I still have the reminiscence of when I hit my shin after missing, and had a swollen shin for a while, and that was quite painful. And I've done that in the past a couple times. Thankfully not too many times, but definitely want to do the box jumps. I did some broad jumps, some ice skaters, the lateral jumps. Tried to do some jump roving, but that was kind of a little too much on my shoulder as far as making it more achy, so I didn't really do too much of that. But I was really happy with this first week. I feel really good. I think my quads are gonna be really sore tomorrow. When I go tomorrow, I don't know what I'm gonna do in particular. I probably will lift pretty darn lightly because the program will obviously start back up on Monday. And the way that's set up now, it gives me something every single day for Monday through Thursday, and then the Friday through Sunday I program for myself. So it'll be a good little mix because I'll get a lot of practices with movements. I'll have their progression through their program, and then I'll have the stuff to supplement it on the weekends with that. I'm planning on doing a competition. I looked at the dates at the place where I've done my other 2 competitions, and I believe it's beginning of February, so I'm going to try to do one then, and hopefully be able to hit some good numbers there and PR my lifts and whatnot. But that's really the target date with that, and I'll probably do that competition, then maybe one in the summer at some point. But until my numbers are really respectable as far as a national stage, I'm not really too concerned with the frequency of my competitions. It's more to compete, to practice the act of competing, to get that experience. But obviously, if my numbers aren't there isn't too much benefit to constantly peaking and competing in that sort of sense, because I'm not Bulgarian, nor am I on steroids, so it's not going to be beneficial for me to do a lot of maximal stuff like that when I could just be hammering away at my weaknesses and building the technique the best ways that I can. But with that being said, I don't really have too much else to talk about. It was a pretty straightforward week of school. Oh yeah, I do want to mention that with school. I did my filming for the lesson that I have. And it went really, really well. I have to go through the paperwork aspect and make sure the video has all the components that I need, because I can still record. I can record as many lessons as I want. I just have to submit one and do my paperwork part with it. But the lesson that I did was kind of just off a whim, just to make sure my camera actually worked on my phone, to make sure the sound worked, to make sure it was lined up and everything for a future lesson. But it just so happened that lesson went really, really well. And it was a math lesson, which was really easy to teach, and the students were really, really good in it. So I'm hoping that it has all the stuff that I need in it. I tried to make sure that it did, but I also wasn't overly concerned with that because it was more of just making sure the technology aspect worked. But, at worst it doesn't, and then I have a whole month to get another lesson because it's due the beginning of January, I think like the 10th, I forget the exact date. I plan to do it before Christmas, and now that I'm starting to think about turning that in, there is a lot of paperwork that I get to do before winter break, and it'll be very nice once I'm after that, because I will have I'll have that Reza stuff turned in, which will be a huge weight off my shoulders, as well as some IEPs and ETR type stuff that will be done. And then more of that in the spring, but it's always nice to get that stuff hammered out and just move forward in that direction. But I think that's really about it that I want to talk about in this video. Hope everyone had a great week of training, and I'll talk to you all in the next one. Hope you all have a great day. Peace.